An earthquake shook San Diego in mid-April. This is not something I normally remember or comment on, except for a viral video featuring the elephants in the San Diego Zoo. When the earth started shaking, the elephants stopped what they were doing and moved to the center of their enclosure, forming a tight circle. Older elephants stood facing outward, with ears extended, with eyes wide open, and tusks at the ready. Younger elephants huddled in the center of the circle, protected from threat. Evidently, this is standard elephant response to perceived danger. It's called bunching. In moments of high stress, elephants form a protective ring around their youngest and most vulnerable. They put their bodies in the way of danger. The story from the San Diego Zoo also features the detail that a young male calf named Zuli joined the matriarchs on the outside of the circle for the first time. In response, two of the older female elephants, Zuli's mom and another elephant who had helped raise him, repeatedly patted Zuli on the side and on his face with their trunks, as if to say, "It's okay, don't worry, you're doing great." Visualize that. Zuli's mom and co-mom standing with tusks at the ready to attack, eyes scanning for danger, listening for threats with their enormous ears, and at the same time, Zuli's mom and co-mom tenderly offering a steady stream of reassurances to the newest member of the outside circle. Could we, all of us, be so fierce and so tender? In two almost identical gospel stories in Mark and Luke, Jesus strikingly compares himself to a mother hen. He longs to protect the persecuted and downtrodden of Jerusalem as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. It's not an obvious metaphor for a Jewish man to use. Jesus compares himself to a mother hen in a moment of lament. Jesus is mourning the suffering of the people and their resistance to love and protection. He wants to gather, to shelter, to mother. And the people do not listen. Now, if you've ever loved someone that you could not protect, then you may understand the depths of Jesus' sorrow. All you can do is open your arms. You cannot make anyone walk into them. Still, Jesus was willing to be a mother hen standing between her chicks and those who meant to do them harm, with no tusks, no muscles to speak of, nothing that signals any power at all. Just a willingness to open up and shield those in need. In a world where messiahs were expected to be warrior kings, this image upends all expectations. It offers a model of divine strength expressed through care, not control, through mothering, not might. Jesus imagined himself as a mother hen, offering his body, however imperfectly created for the task, to protect those in need. Could we, all of us, be willing to risk ourselves like that? Ada Lamone's version of mothering probably feels a little more familiar, maybe a little less dangerous. My God, I thought my whole life I've been under her raincoat, thinking it was somehow a marvel that I never got wet. This is mothering as an unseen, often unappreciated force trying to help children grow into their best selves, or at least make it to adulthood. Taking care of the details, dentist appointments, and school lunches, summer camp registrations and clean t-shirts, dinner prep, endless carpooling. The list goes on and on and on and on. These are the nitty-gritty facts of mothering, mostly about showing up, being there, taking care. A different kind of sacrifice than Jesus as mother hen, often performed by actual mothers, sometimes not. In the poem, Lamone's mom drove her daughter 45 minutes each way for a doctor's appointment, encouraging her to sing the whole time. Could Lamone even carry a tune? It didn't matter. The important thing was for the child to sing. Could we, all of us, find that kind of grace? Now, as a new, As a new Unitarian Universalist minister, it's a requirement of my position to mention Unitarian foremother Julia Ward Howe on Mother's Day. Yes. In 1870, Howe began pushing for the creation of a Mother's Day for peace. Howe meant the day as an uprising against war. Like many in the 19th century and today, Howe believed natural maternal instincts compelled women to oppose war to protect their children. What was more unusual about Howe was that she believed that there are no other people's children. She said, "We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs." Howe conceived Mother's Day as an impassioned cry to disarm, to rally against all war, a call for mothers to rise up to declare that they would not raise children to kill other mothers' children. This is not the Mother's Day we got. Stripped of its anti-war connection, Mother's Day became an American holiday in 1914, just in time for the outbreak of World War I. Anna Jarvis, who had also long campaigned for a day honoring mothers, ended up dismayed by the holiday she had helped to create. "I wanted it to be a day of sentiment, not profit," Jarvis said. Greeting card companies and florists strongly disagreed. Jarvis's vision of hand-picked flowers and handwritten letters did not stand a chance. Julia Ward Howe's vision of Mother's Day got ground up in the trenches of World War I. Anna Jarvis's vision of Mother's Day got caught in the vice grip of capitalism and became something that she herself disavowed. Americans will spend about $34 billion on Mother's Day this year. The traditional conservative forces that have long shaped Mother's Day aren't really interested in spreading a vision of peace or celebrating without the help of the marketplace. Could we, all of us, celebrate a more radical Mother's Day? Yeah, there we go. Yes, preach. Reverend Marcus has been preaching for the past month or so about gender, encouraging us to think and feel more expansively about our norms and expectations. And as a reminder, way back at the beginning of this series, Reverend Marcus issued an invitation to describe your gender in 3 or 4 images. Does anybody remember that? He gave the example of a friend who says she's Wesley from The Princess Bride, a gypsy riding bareback, an earth mother, and a crone. If you would like he is still interested in hearing what your vision of gender is in images. So send those along, and he will incorporate them into a later sermon. Be thinking about that. Because Reverend Marcus has been asking us to open ourselves to ambiguity, to mix it up, use new words to describe our gender, let go of icky expectations inherited from our parents, or pop culture, or church, and lean into something healthier, less restrictive, more authentic. We can do that with mothering, too. As my example of Jesus made clear, mothering is not about biology or gender, or certainly not just about biology or gender. Mothering is open to everyone, and there's so many ways to do that mothering. Could we, all of us, try out a little mothering? Yeah. I have 2 children who will be 21 very soon, like 3 weeks soon. I am so proud of them. Raising them has been the most vital, most important thing I've done in my life. Until very recently, as the non-bio mom in a lesbian couple, I would not have been counted as their mother. Elizabeth, my partner, went back to work when Arlo and Annabelle were 6 months old. I stayed home. At some point in that first year, we started the process to make my motherhood official. The diaper changing and the late night bottle feedings, the hours at the park, the repeated readings of 10 minutes to bedtime, none of that counted in the eyes of the state. Now, as a part of the second parent adoption process, a social worker came to our house for a site visit. Friends, she insisted we wake Arlo up from a nap. Things got a little tense. After she saw that the kids were, in fact, all right, the social worker turned to Elizabeth. You understand that once you sign this paperwork, Catherine will have the same legal rights over your children as you do. How do you feel about that? I honestly thought Elizabeth's head might explode. She said, I think it's ridiculous that we have to go through with this. Catherine is already their mother. They're already her children. Elizabeth was right, as she so often is. Still, when Annabelle and Arlo were younger, plenty of people had zero qualms, like none, about asking me and Elizabeth some variant of, who's the mom? Which meant, who's the bio mom, who's the birth mom, who carried them? People wanted to know who was the real mom and who was the fake. They didn't get the expansiveness of mothering at all. I imagine that some of you have had similar experiences, raising children that people thought were not your own, being asked in so many different ways, who's the real mom? Could we, all of us, expand our understanding of real mothering? Yes. Because mothering happens even when you don't have children in your actual house, or when your house itself is a metaphor. I'm thinking here of Angie Extravaganza. Extravaganza transformed herself into a mother when she was only 16 and ended up watching over dozens, maybe hundreds of young people in the 1980s. Extravaganza was part of a thriving subculture that organized elaborate drag balls where mostly Black and gay Latino men and trans people walked the runway to win acclaim. Most contestants on these runways represented houses that served as intentional families with a mother to guide them. Extravaganza was a house mother. known as the fiercest thing in high heels, who was often tough on her chosen family. She dressed to win and set clear expectations about behavior and attitude. But extravaganza had a tender side too. As the mother of the House of Extravaganza, she took rejected and homeless teenagers under her wing, made them chicken soup, celebrated their birthdays, taught them how to survive in a world that did not value their contributions. She believed in me when I did not believe in myself, said one of the Extravaganza House members. She was my gay mother, my friend. She gave me the slap of love, and it woke me up. Neither gender nor biology defined Extravaganza's motherhood. Like Jesus, she served as a sort of mother hen, offering shelter despite having few resources herself. Poor and unloved by mainstream society, she opened her wings to protect those who had even less. Could we, all of us, treat other people's children as our own? Yes. One more story of fierce mothering. This one from Argentina in the 1970s and 80s. A military coup led to a harsh crackdown known as the Dirty War. Anyone who opposed the dictatorship, leftists, activists, socialists, writers, journalists, artists, students, was at risk. The dictatorship mandated dress codes, hairstyles, appropriate reading material. They declared student groups and unions subversive and illegal. They prohibited organizing and meeting in public. And people, especially young activists, were swept up and disappeared. At least 30,000 people were killed or disappeared. Facing this level of repression, many Argentines went silent, but not a group of mothers, the Madres of the Plaza de Mayo, whose bravery would transform them into the symbol of democratic opposition. That's not how they started, though. At first, they were just individual moms worried about their individual children. Where had their children gone? Mothers and grandmothers met during endless, fruitless visits to police stations and military barracks. Their despair drew them together. Once they were together, they got stronger. Since more than two people speaking in public was illegal, the mothers began walking in pairs once a week around the Plaza de Mayo, right in front of the president's main office, holding photos and signs of their missing children. It was dangerous, so dangerous that some of the mothers themselves were also kidnapped and killed. But the Madres kept walking. The Madres protested so much that they, eventually, helped to end the military dictatorship. And even after democracy returned to Argentina, the Madres kept mothering, expanding their defense of human rights to include other people, workers, gay people. They marched for everyone, defenders of life. The Madres started as mother hens, armed with nothing more than the love they had for their children. They became elephants, bunching together in times of danger, tusks out and eyes wide open, always reassuring those who are anxious and in need, you're doing okay. Could we, all of us, claim that same fierce mothering spirit? Because we live in a world where authoritarianism is again on the rise, where our government passes laws to erase trans lives, ignores the law to snatch people off the street and deport them without due process. They are rewriting history and silencing truth. More mothering from everyone is one answer. We all need to embody our motherly side in these dangerous days. Take care of each other. Wake people up with a slap of love. Spread our wings to embrace all of the children. So I urge you, don't ask, who's the real mom? Just be the real mom. Lean into mothering as an act of spiritual resistance. Together, let's bunch up and put our bodies in the way of danger. Stick our metaphorical tusks out. Open our arms to shelter those in need. Be the raincoat that protects all who need it. May it be so. Amen.